Welcome to Hollywood Echoes, where we uncover the hidden stories of Tinseltown's most legendary stars. Hollywood's golden age was filled with glitz, glamour, and unforgettable icons. But behind the dazzling lights and picture-perfect romances, some of its biggest stars carried a secret, a truth they could never openly share. In an era where being gay meant the end of a career, these actors lived double lives, carefully navigating a world that demanded illusion over reality. Today, we're diving into the untold stories of 10 legendary Hollywood stars who kept their true selves hidden from the public eye. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was the ultimate Hollywood leading man. With his chiseled jawline, broad shoulders, and charming presence, he was the heartthrob of an entire generation. But behind the silver screen, Hudson lived a life of secrecy. At a time when being openly gay could mean the end of a career, he carefully crafted an image of a heterosexual superstar. The Hollywood studios orchestrated relationships for him, even arranging a brief marriage to his agent's secretary to keep suspicions at bay. For years, he navigated a double life, one for the cameras, another behind closed doors. But in 1985, when he was diagnosed with AIDS, the carefully built illusion shattered. His illness forced the world to confront both the realities of the disease and the truth about his identity. His tragic death became a turning point in the conversation about AIDS and LGBTQ+ rights in Hollywood. Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter was the golden boy of 1950s Hollywood, blonde, athletic, and the epitome of all-American masculinity. He starred in films alongside Natalie Wood and Debbie Reynolds, always portraying the perfect romantic lead. But while the studio crafted a carefully curated image of a ladies' man, the reality was far different. In private, Hunter had relationships with men, including fellow actor Anthony Perkins. The pressure to maintain his public persona was immense, and any hint of his real identity threatened to destroy his career. A tabloid scandal nearly exposed him, but the studio worked tirelessly to suppress the rumors. It wasn't until decades later, in his memoir, Tab Hunter Confidential, that he openly discussed his sexuality. His story was a reminder of the intense pressures actors faced to conform to Hollywood's rigid expectations. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins will always be remembered for his chilling performance as Norman Bates in Psycho, but his personal life was equally complex. A rising star in the 1950s, Perkins struggled with his identity in an era where being openly gay was nearly impossible for an actor. He had relationships with men, including Tab Hunter and dancer Rudolf Nureyev, but feared public exposure. Industry executives warned him that coming out would ruin his career. To maintain his Hollywood status, he eventually married a woman and had children, though those close to him knew it was more of a survival strategy than a true reflection of his desires. In 1992, Perkins passed away from AIDS-related complications, never publicly acknowledging his sexuality. His life remains a testament to the sacrifices many actors had to make to stay in the industry. Cary Grant. Cary Grant was the very definition of Hollywood elegance. Suave, witty, and irresistibly charming, he became one of the most beloved actors of all time. But beneath the glamorous exterior, whispers about his personal life swirled for decades. Grant lived with fellow actor Randolph Scott for years, in what many believed to be more than just a friendship. The two men shared homes, vacationed together, and were often photographed in intimate settings. Hollywood gossip magazines at the time even made light of their relationship, referring to them as an inseparable duo. Though Grant was married multiple times, speculation about his sexuality never faded. While he never officially came out, his close relationships with men have led many to believe that he was one of Hollywood's best-kept secrets. Randolph Scott. Randolph Scott was a rugged, all-American leading man known for his Western films and tough guy persona. But behind the scenes, his life was deeply intertwined with that of Cary Grant. The two actors met in the 1930s and soon moved in together, sharing a mansion that became a source of endless speculation. Though both men had high-profile relationships with women, many believed that their bond was something more. Their shared living arrangements lasted for over a decade, and despite both eventually marrying women, rumors persisted. Scott never publicly addressed the speculation, but his long and complicated relationship with Grant remains one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries. Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro was one of the biggest silent film stars of the 1920s, often hailed as the Latin lover of Hollywood. With his striking looks and undeniable charm, he was MGM's answer to Rudolph Valentino. But while fans adored his on-screen romances, Novarro's real-life love interests were far from what the studio wanted the public to believe. He was a gay man in an era when being open about one's sexuality was unthinkable. For years, he lived in fear of exposure, carefully hiding his relationships. Tragically, in 1968, he was murdered in his home by two men who believed he had large sums of money hidden away. His death was a brutal reminder of the dangers that many closeted actors faced, even in the supposed safety of their own homes. Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton was one of the greatest actors of his time, known for his powerful performances in films like The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Witness for the Prosecution. But behind his commanding presence on screen, he carried a personal secret. Laughton was married to actress Elsa Lanchester, but their marriage was largely one of convenience. Lanchester later revealed that Laughton was exclusively attracted to men, and his homosexuality was an open secret in certain circles. Despite his immense talent, the fear of public exposure haunted him, and he remained in the shadows for most of his life. Farley Granger. Farley Granger became a household name thanks to his roles in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope and Strangers on a Train. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Granger was more open about his relationships, having affairs with both men and women. He later admitted to dating composer Leonard Bernstein and playwright Arthur Lawrence. Though he never made a grand public announcement about his sexuality, he lived his life with a certain level of honesty that was rare for his time. In his memoir, he dismissed labels and simply stated that he loved who he loved. Liberace was one of the most flamboyant and extravagant entertainers of the 20th century. With his dazzling costumes and larger-than-life performances, he captivated audiences worldwide. But despite the obvious clues, Liberace vehemently denied being gay throughout his career. He even sued publications that suggested otherwise. Behind closed doors, however, he had several long-term relationships with men. When he passed away from AIDS-related complications in 1987, the truth about his sexuality became undeniable. His life was a study in contradiction, an artist who built an entire career on showmanship, yet hid his most personal truth. George Nader. George Nader was a handsome leading man of the 1950s, often compared to Rock Hudson. While he never achieved the same level of stardom, he did something few others dared. He lived openly as a gay man in Hollywood's golden age. Though he kept a low profile, he remained in a long-term relationship with his partner, Mark Miller, for over 50 years. His career suffered because of his refusal to conform, but he chose authenticity over fame. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he found happiness in his personal life, even if it cost him his career. The golden age of Hollywood was a time of immense beauty and creativity, but also of strict rules and hidden truths. These stars gave us unforgettable performances while carrying the heavy burden of secrecy. Though they couldn't live openly in their time, their stories remind us of how far the world has come and how much further we still have to go. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's past, Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating stories from the golden era of cinema. See you in the next one.